Welcome to Home Cook Stories, the podcast that brings flavor and inspiration to your ears. I'm your host, Julia Darling, a working mother with a family of 5 to feed and an insatiable appetite for all things food. Inspired by the life lessons from my mom, I believe food has profound links to our lives, from family recipes that leave a legacy, to the culinary journeys that define our travels, and the food that shapes our culture and lifestyle. Join me on this audio adventure as we dig into delicious topics, bringing more meaning and connectivity to our lives. And yes, we'll definitely work up an appetite. Remember, food isn't just what's on your plate. It helps tell the story of who you are. So wherever you are in this moment, pull up a seat and tune in, because life's too short for bland stories and boring meals. Welcome to Home Cook Stories. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something just for yourself? No family or friends, no kids' schedules attached. This was just you, fueled by your own curiosity and a little bit of free time that we may have. I think we're so good at encouraging our kids to try new things, a new sport, a new instrument, or the drama club. But somewhere between our teenage years and adulthood, I think we lose giving ourselves that same permission to try new things, simply because we're curious and we want to learn. And that's what I want to talk about today. As adults, we may feel like there has to be an end game in mind to scratching that creative itch, right? I'm taking an Italian class because we've booked a summer trip to Italy, or I'm attending an entrepreneur conference because I want to start a side hustle or a small business. But why not try something new just for the sake of exploration and enjoyment? Just to see how it sparks creativity or inspiration in ways that we may not expect. This showed up for me personally a few weeks ago when I took a solo trip to Asheville, North Carolina. I was going to attend a flower arrangement workshop at Flourish Flower Farm in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's about 15 minutes outside of downtown Asheville. And try to say Flourish Flower Farm 3 times fast. The workshop was my birthday present, a day to myself to try something creative and to learn a new skill that I was interested in. And while my birthday was this past December, it was worth the 9-month wait. And honestly, given how fast this year has flown by, it felt like it was here in no time at all. But part of this gift was the time alone. I drove over to Asheville the night before the workshop. I reserved my hotel room and I took myself out for a nice meal, got dressed up, didn't have reservations, picked a restaurant that I wanted to go to, and just, fully leaned into taking myself out for a nice meal. And one of the moments that stood out to me that night was at dinner. At first I felt all confident walking into the restaurant and declaring, table for 1, no reservations. But after about a 30-minute wait by myself and then sitting at a table for 2 alone, little flickers of awkwardness start to creep into your mind. Like, are people watching me, or do I look out of place? And I'm not quite sure what to do with myself when there's not somebody else to talk to. But then this young waitress came over and she leaned in as she was filling up my water glass and she said, "I just have to tell you, you are giving off major cool girl vibes right now." And I laughed because I was so pleasantly shocked and surprised. I mean, there was nothing about the way that I looked or was handling myself that I think exuded any level of coolness. And so she said, "No, you look very confident and you've inspired me to want to do this." And I honestly thought, didn't my husband call you and feed you this line to boost my ego? Because it is really working right now and feeding into this whole narrative. But it's that tiny reminder that sometimes the way we see ourselves is so different from how others see us in that moment. And so doing something solo like that can actually appear pretty empowering to someone else. Now, you may be wondering, what do floral arrangements have to do with food? Cooking has, by and large, been my creative outlet over the years. I do it just about every day to feed my family, but it also feeds my own curiosity and interests. And I think there's something similar in the way that flower arranging works. There are recipes for how you mix different types of flowers or how you arrange them. It's the balance of texture and color and height and shape. And ultimately, you're building something beautiful or delicious that people can enjoy. But creativity can show up in many different forms. For me, it may be cooking. For you, it could be learning to sew or taking up gardening or signing up for a recreational sports league, or even just simply attending a book signing of an author you admire. And if you're still not sure what that might be, think about what are the things that interested you in the younger version of yourself that still appeal to you today. So here's the takeaway. Solo experiences don't have to be big, and they don't have to be far away. They could be a local cooking class or a lecture, or even just going to a restaurant and enjoying a meal by yourself, as scary as that might sound. The point is simply to step outside of your normal day-to-day activities and just do something that you are curious about. See what it teaches you about yourself or your surroundings. For me, in that flower workshop, I learned that I'm not naturally talented when it comes to floral arrangements. To be super honest, I thought I might be. My grandmother was a florist and owned a florist shop for decades. My mom had a natural eye for style and design. She was just so naturally gifted, and it was evident in the way that she could pull a floral or decorative arrangement together, or even in the way that she would decorate our home for the holidays growing up. And so I was hoping that it might be in my DNA. I was going to show up for this workshop and I was going to tap into some unknown talent that I had when it came to flower arranging. And I was not that good at it. But what I learned is we don't have to be good at it. I may not have had the best arrangement at the end of that workshop, but I still enjoyed every minute of it. I was surrounded by beautiful things. The mountains, the flower farm, the first-rate experience of learning this skill from Nikki Irving, the flower farmer and the florist. She's a woman who is an expert in her field and extremely talented in her craft. And it was such an inspiration even just to be there and to hear about how she started her business and how she has grown it into what it has become today. It helped me understand on a deeper level how much of what she does is an art and just gave me a greater appreciation for it altogether. And I have to say, as much as I thought my arrangements were, they were okay, it was so sweet to hear how impressed and complimentary my family was once I got home and put my arrangements on our dinner table. So again, it goes back to my point at the very beginning of we don't have to do these things with an end game in mind. I didn't go to this flower workshop because I wanted to start a floral business. Maybe it would have sparked an interest in me, but the ultimate goal was just to try something new, something that I was interested in and curious about, and just to have some time to myself to scratch that creative itch. So my encouragement for you is this. What's one thing you could try this season that's just for you? It doesn't have to be huge. In fact, I'd encourage you to start small because sometimes that's the smaller hurdle to clear. So just pick one tiny thing that you've been curious about and give yourself permission to go for it. And I'd love to hear about it. Send me a message and share with me on Instagram at Julia the Home Cook. Let me know, and maybe we'll inspire each other. Until we talk again, stay curious, find time for creativity, and eat well. Thank you all for listening to the episode today. If you find value in these stories, please share it with someone who would appreciate it too. A big part of why I wanted to start this podcast is to build a community of food lovers and home cooks alike. You taking less than a minute out of your day to share an episode, subscribe to the podcast, or leave a review is the greatest form of validation and means so much because it is helping us to build that community and connection with one another. Remember, a good story is meant to be shared. Until next time, eat well.